In official materials, NEOM looks like a project for everyone. The slogans say, City of the Future, a home for 9 million people, an ecological paradise where everyone will find their place. But behind this narrative are stories the brochures never show. Stories of people whose lives NEOM is already changing today, even though the first skyscrapers are only just rising from the sand. For young Saudis, NEOM is a promise of modern jobs, of a lifestyle like the one they see on social media, of a chance to break away from conservative everyday life. But at the same time, it's also a question. Will they truly be welcome there? Or will they end up in the shadow of global expats, the wealthy and tech giants who will get the best positions? For migrant workers, NEOM is a completely different story. For them, it is not the city of the future, but just another place of hard labor. They are the ones digging the foundations of the line, erecting octagon structures, pouring concrete for Trojena, and servicing the luxury of Sindala. They do not appear in the brochures. In reality, they are everywhere, invisible, exhausted, bound by contracts that tie them more tightly than chains. And then there are those whom NEOM has forced to leave. Bedouin tribes who have lived in the mountains and desert for centuries. The authorities speak of relocations for the good of the nation. Environmentalists speak of erasing an entire culture in the name of a futuristic vision. These people will not see their place in the brochures because their place has been taken away. Abdul Rahman says, "This is the future. Everyone has to sacrifice something so the country can develop." Aisha replies, "But if you take the future away from people, whose future is it really? Is this city being built for the nation or just for the elite?" This episode will be about the faces hidden behind glass and steel, about the voices that rarely break through the PR, about the fact that NEOM is not just the vision of architects and politicians, but also the everyday life of ordinary people who in this vision may find a chance or lose everything. Saudi Arabia is a country of the young. More than 60% of its people are under 30. It is a generation raised on smartphones, TikTok, and Instagram, seeing the worlds of Dubai, Los Angeles, and Tokyo, while living in a reality still governed by conservative rules. It is exactly to them that the NEOM narrative is addressed. The brochures show modern apartments, co-working spaces, concerts, extreme sports, a life that seems full of color and freedom. The ads feature young Saudis, women in stylish outfits, men in sleek sportswear, all smiling, all looking toward the future. The slogan is, "This is your city, your new home, your future." Young Saudis have waited a long time for such a narrative. After decades in which conservative clerics defined what a good life is, now the vision of modernization has become the central point of the state's propaganda. NEOM sells them something they have never been given before, the dream of a global lifestyle without the need to emigrate. Abdul Rahman, a student from Riyadh, says enthusiastically, "This is for us. At last, we won't have to go to London or Dubai to feel modernity. It will be enough to go to NEOM. There we'll find work, entertainment, freedom." But beneath that enthusiasm lie questions. Because will young Saudis truly find their place there? The most attractive positions, in tech, management, tourism, are already today being offered to international experts, which means local young people may end up as mere extras in their own country, operating the system, but not running it. Then there is the cultural tension. The brochures show concerts and parties, but will a young woman from Riyadh really be able to freely take part in such a life when her family still views the world through the lens of tradition? Will NEOM become just an enclave for the rich and liberal, while the rest of the youth remain in a world of restrictions? The promises made to the young are therefore enormous and tempting. But like any dream, they can quickly turn into disappointment if NEOM proves to be more of a stage set for the world than a real opportunity for the local generation. Look at the render of the line and you see a gleaming wall of glass and steel. Stand on the construction site and you see people in helmets and reflective vests. They are not Saudis. They are migrants from Asia and Africa who are building a dream they will never experience. Workers from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, the Philippines, or Sudan come to Saudi Arabia hoping to earn enough to support their families. Recruitment agencies promise good wages, accommodation, and care. Reality looks different. Many end up in barracks far from the construction sites, work 10-12 hours a day in the heat, and their passports end up in their employer's safe. The kafala system still, in practice, ties them more tightly than any contract. In 45-degree heat, on sand that burns the skin, they dig foundations, carry steel, operate machines. They are the ones creating the base for a city officially marketed as the City of Artificial Intelligence. Their everyday life has nothing to do with futuristic technology. It is sweat and desert dust. In the evenings, when NEOM's brochures show concerts and beaches, they return to overcrowded barracks. Their luxury is a fan in the room and a phone call home to Dhaka or Kathmandu. Their NEOM is not the future. It is the present of hard work from which others will benefit. One NGO report quotes a worker from Nepal. "They told me I'd work in a hotel and I ended up on a construction site. They took my passport. When I ask for time off, they say if I leave, I'll be deported. This isn't life. It's an open-air prison." Abdul Rahman says, "That's normal. Every country developed on the work of foreigners. Dubai, Qatar, even Europe. Everywhere migrants build the future." Aisha replies, "The difference is that here the future is being built at the expense of people who have no voice. That's not partnership, that's exploitation." The daily life of migrants in NEOM is a life without photos and brochures. It is the invisible side of the dream, a side that exists only because someone agreed to sacrifice their own life for a vision they will never be part of. Before the first excavators arrived, before the government announced billion-dollar contracts, before the world saw the render of the line, in the mountains and desert of the Tabuk region lived people who knew this land better than anyone. Bedouin tribes, shepherds, fishermen, nomads, guardians of tradition. Their life was simple, rooted in nature and the centuries-old rhythm of the desert. For them, the NEOM Mountains are not an investment area, but a homeland. Places where they buried their ancestors, where they herded their flocks, where they taught their children respect for nature. But when the NEOM vision appeared, that world was suddenly declared an obstacle. The Saudi authorities began a process of relocation. The official narrative spoke of compensation and new opportunities. In practice, forced displacement. Some received payouts, others, warnings that if they did not agree, they would be removed by force. Human rights reports document cases of brutal interventions and arrests of those who refused to leave their land. For the Bedouins, NEOM is not the city of the future, but a symbol of loss. Their culture, identity, and bond with nature have been erased from the map in the name of a futuristic vision. The paradox is that a project marketed as harmony with nature begins by tearing away from the land those who actually lived in that harmony for centuries. Abdul Rahman, loyal to the state narrative, says, "That's the price of progress. The Bedouins will get better houses, better schools, a better life. The past must give way to the future." Aisha replies, "But can you build the future on the ruins of the past? Do you really have to tear people out of their homes to show the world how modern your country is?" The displaced Bedouins have become a symbol that NEOM is not only about buildings and technology, it is also about people who were forced to pay for someone else's dream. In NEOM's brochures, you see diversity. Young Saudis in modern outfits, women running their own businesses, foreign specialists working in glass offices. It is meant to create the image of a city open to all, where everyone can find a place. But reality is far more selective. From the outset, NEOM has been designed to attract elites and expats, investors, experts, managers, celebrities. They are the ones meant to live in luxury apartments overlooking the Red Sea, use the newest technologies, and plug the city into the global economy. The Saudi government makes no secret of the fact that it is recruiting talent for NEOM from around the world. Architects from Europe, managers from America, engineers from Korea or Japan. They get the best positions, the biggest salaries, the most generous benefit packages. Young Saudis are left with lower-level roles, operating a system designed above their heads. Everyday life in NEOM is already split into two layers. On one side, conferences, cocktails, meetings in luxury hotels, where people discuss the future of the world. On the other, construction sites, barracks, and hard migrant labor. Two worlds side by side, but never truly meeting. Sindala, the island of luxury, is a textbook example. When billionaires arrive on their yachts, they will be surrounded by staff who themselves will never step onto such a vessel as guests. Trojena, the ski resort, will host celebrities and wealthy tourists, but for ordinary Saudis, a ticket to the slopes will remain a dream. NEOM is marketed as a national project, but in practice it looks like a club for the chosen few, where ordinary people appear only as extras. Abdul Rahman says proudly, "It's good that the global elites will come here. It means prestige, investment, jobs." Aisha responds, "But if the city is built mainly for foreigners, whose future is it? Saudis or expats?" NEOM was supposed to be a project for the nation, but more and more it looks like a stage set designed for the needs of global elites. For some, a chance. For others, proof that the future has become a luxury only a few can afford. Every great dream has its price. From the start, NEOM has been sold as a national project, a symbol of modernity, proof that Saudi Arabia can step out of oil's shadow and into the future. But when we put the brochures aside and look at the people, we see who is really paying for that dream. Young Saudis pay the price of hope. They let themselves be enchanted by promises of modern life, new jobs, and freedom. But many may discover they are only extras, smiling faces in PR campaigns, not true beneficiaries of the system. For them, disappointment may be the greatest loss, because it takes away something more valuable than money: faith in the future. Migrants pay the price of labor. They build the foundations in heat and dust, in a system that binds them with contracts more tightly than any formal agreement. They have no share in the dream they are helping create. Their everyday life is barracks, long shifts, and longing for home. NEOM will never be their city. They will be only its invisible skeleton. The Bedouins pay the price of uprooting. They have been torn from land that was their world for centuries. They lost homes, identity, tradition. Instead of harmony with nature, they received eviction in the name of a project that promises the world ecology and modernization. Theirs is the highest price, the loss of an entire way of life. Ordinary citizens pay the price of silence. The official narrative tells them to believe NEOM is a source of national pride. But the question of who will truly benefit often remains unanswered. Those who try to criticize take a risk, because NEOM is not just an economic project, it is also a symbol of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's political power. Abdulrahman says, "It's a price that has to be paid. Great projects always demand sacrifice. Thanks to NEOM, our children will live in a future we can only dream of today." Aisha replies, "But if you build the future on suffering and inequality, will it really be a better life? Or will it turn out the price was too high? The social cost of NEOM is not measured in billions of dollars or tons of steel. It is measured in hopes that may be fulfilled or betrayed, in the work of people who will never enter the city they built, in a culture that disappears to make room for a vision. And that is the greatest paradox of NEOM. It is a project that was supposed to symbolize the nation's future. Yet more and more it looks like a project in which the nation is only the audience, watching a grand spectacle staged for elites and the world. In NEOM's brochures you see glass, steel, and the lights of the future. But no render will show the real foundations of this city, because its foundation is not concrete walls or steel beams. Its foundation is people, the ones you don't see in the pictures. Young Saudis who believe NEOM will give them a better life and whose hopes fuel the narrative of national pride. Migrants who, day after day, in sweat and heat, lay brick upon brick, knowing they will never be part of this paradise. Bedouins torn from the desert where their ancestors lived for centuries, who paid the price of losing their whole world so another could be built. The official narrative says, NEOM is the city of the future. But the future is not created in brochures. It is created in people's everyday lives. And it is this everyday life, though invisible, that will decide whether NEOM becomes a city of hope or a city of illusion. Abdul Rahman says, "This is our pride, proof that we can dream like the West." Aisha replies, "But if your dream rests on the shoulders of people who suffer in silence, it's not a dream. It's a burden that will eventually collapse. You can build a city out of concrete and glass, but you cannot build a civilization without people. If NEOM is truly to endure, slogans about climate neutrality and luxury will not be enough. What it needs is justice, for the young, for migrants, for the Bedouins. Otherwise, the future NEOM promises will remain nothing more than a desert mirage."